Hello and welcome. My name's Faye Ashton Wright. I coach and train as a yoga coach, UK. So that's my training and practice brand. I just thought I'd share a little around my approach to sort of recording training content. And my rationale, the thinking, if you like, behind that approach, because it has been quite something I've given quite a lot of kind of thought and consideration to. So obviously we live in an information rich, if not information saturated, and knowledge rich and wisdom rich, insight rich world in our modern era. So we are fortunate in that we have an abundance of information and knowledge and the tools with which to access that at our disposal. Certainly those of us who are privileged in that regard, particularly living in the West, but it's generally by becoming more of the normal, the default to have access to um, devices, data, information, learning, wisdom. That's not something that I say lightly, and it's not something that one would necessarily, we should kind of necessarily take for granted. It's important to recognise our privilege in that regard. But one of the features of this reality, I guess, particularly with technology and digital and the faster pace at which that can be accessed, or it might be served to us, or delivered to us, um, is that it has created work, effectively an opportunity, for many of us, for many people, for those again with the privilege of access and skills and so on, to be able to create content, so to share ideas, to share learnings, to share wisdom, to promote services or so on, for whatever reason, for education, and that might be formally through academic channels and settings, or more generally. And obviously social media has been an absolute sort of explosive dynamic in that regard, of our ability to self-publish and to freely and openly share our ideas, our wisdom, our insights, our experiences, as to the extent we may wish to do. And that has obviously become quite a kind of professionalized and marketized activity. So it's become a sphere of work, of business, and particularly sort of digital marketing is one of the main, I guess, business domains where a lot of the practice of producing content and so on has been refined and professionalized, if you like. And that is a domain in which I have some experience. So outside my yoga teaching and training, coaching, I do have some background in tech and in digital marketing. And I have been involved in producing corporate brand content and so on. So we're often quite habituated on social media platforms, particularly, to seeing quite a glossy version of reality. So influencers as more prominent kind of speakers and content sharers, content producers and so on are increasingly becoming known, will invest significant effort into the production of their content, and it's to a certain level of professionalism. And that is obviously something that you know people will enjoy and people will respond to, and it's very glossy and it's very slick, um and so on, and that is increasingly becoming the norm, right? So that's increasingly becoming the default de facto standard of what we expect to find, how we expect to experience people in these digital virtual environments, effectively in these spaces. So I've been giving consideration quite some time about sharing more video content. It is something that I've done in the past. I've produced kind of done live video streaming. I've trained via video conferencing, so I'm recorded, and so I have some archive video material, training materials, assets, as it were. And one of my main hesitancies has been, well, if I'm going to do that, I've got to get it professionally done. I probably need to get a haircut and yeah, think about my look. How will my look be? And yeah, how will I deliver it? And what will be the, do I need to be able to access the studio? Do I need a professional videographer? Then I probably need somebody to edit it, so on. And before long, it became this really big thing that became quite inaccessible to me, actually. Because suddenly it was no longer about having a device with Wi-Fi, with recording capability and sharing some ideas and thoughts. It became me trying to present this different alternate version of myself with my hair pristine and straight. And that was all that artifice was necessary to kind of put this wrapper, to give my knowledge, to give my wisdom that I've managed to access, been fortunate enough to gain, to accrue along my journey, to make that valid. And as a woman, that it's important that my appearance is just so. And as a yoga teacher, then really didn't I ought to have perfectly straight posture the entire time I'm speaking? And what if I might feel cold? Then I shouldn't necessarily change, because then that's going to be jarring. And do you know what? I just kind of thought this isn't really very yogic. And if I'm sitting here sharing learnings and wisdom around the essence of yoga and wisdom of yoga and insights that I've gained through my study and practice of yoga, really, do I need to think about embodying this social media influencer and body perfect, edited, produced video perfection standard content? Or am I here talking to you as my authentic self, as I am in this moment? And that's how I've decided to approach it. So for anybody who naturally is more used to, or naturally might find that you have a bias and a preference really now towards the perfectly applied makeup and styled hair and this kind of sociological stereotype of an influencer, a yogi, a trainer, a practitioner, of who that person is. And I'm here and I'm not quite hitting that bar. Well, I reassure you, I had that thought first. However, here I am, and I've decided to keep it real, essentially. And that is a big part of the fundamental philosophy and essence of yoga and what it's about. So I make my apologies for the background noise, the editing glitches, the outfit switches, the messy hair. As I think, I'm not scripting, I'm not editing. So that's how it's going to be. So keeping it real, and with my very gracious and humble thanks for hopefully being tolerant of that, being patient with me, because this is learning for me too. Um, as I move forward with this intention, and as I kind of proceed along this journey of sharing some of my contributing some of my insight and wisdom with the world. So thank you for listening. Possibly that may have resonated. The other aspect is that I hope it can kind of potentially give others confidence to be able to do the same, because we all have wisdom and insight that's of relevance and value to others. And I would hope that we all feel that we can be valid just as we are, and share that, and that we don't need to feel that we have to fit any or measure up to any particular social bars in order to do so. So thank you very much for watching and listening, and do feel free to browse my my portfolio, as it were, of recorded trainings. Thank you.